Today, we are going to discuss the 5 mental hindrances, pancha nivarana, in Theravada Buddhism. Lord Gautama Buddha discovered the Buddhist path of liberation during the process of enlightenment and taught it to others so that others can also cultivate the same path of liberation and liberate themselves from suffering. And the Buddhist path of liberation that the Buddha discovered was the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path has 8 factors: right view, samadhi, right intention, samma sankappa, right speech, samma vacha, right action, samma kammanta, right livelihood, samma ajiva, right effort, samma vayama, right mindfulness, samma sati, and right concentration, samma samadhi. Now, for practical purposes, these 8 factors are divided into 3 groups. The first group is morality, sila, and that consists of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. The second group is concentration, samadhi. That consists of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And the third group is wisdom, pancha, consisting of right understanding and right intention. Now, concentration and wisdom are attained through the Buddhist meditation. And there are 2 types of Buddhist meditation: concentration or tranquility meditation, that is samatha bhavana, and insight or wisdom meditation, that is vipassana bhavana. Now, the aim of concentration meditation is to develop deep concentration of the mind and tranquility. And that is done by focusing attention on one single meditation object. In the Buddhist literature, 40 meditation objects have been described that are suitable for concentration meditation. So one can select a particular meditation object that is suitable to one's temperament and character and begin concentration meditation. As the concentration of the mind becomes deeper, it will lead to development of deepening stages of calm and tranquility. And if one deepens the level of concentration of the mind, one could develop what are called deep mental absorptions or jhanas. And there are 8 such jhanas that one can attain through concentration meditation. Now, insight meditation or vipassana bhavana helps the meditator to gain insight into the 3 common characteristics of all mental and physical phenomena that exist in the world. And that is, everything in this universe is impermanent, anicca, leads to suffering, dukkha, and has no stable entity called self, anatta. An insight meditation helps the meditator to eradicate mental defilements, develop wisdom, and gain enlightenment and liberation from suffering. In a discourse called Avarana Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya, that is the collection of Buddha's numerical discourses, the Buddha described 5 mental hindrances that can obstruct the mental development and also weaken the development of wisdom through meditation. And the 5 mental hindrances are sensual desire, kama chanda, ill will, vyapada, sloth and torpor, tinamidda, restlessness and remorse, uddacha kukucha, and skeptical doubt, vichikicha. Now, Buddha has said all our unwholesome actions, whether they are physical, verbal, or mental actions, arise from 3 unwholesome roots. And they are greed, lobha, aversion, dosa, and delusion, moha. And these 5 mental hindrances also arise from the same 3 unwholesome roots. Now, sensual desire arises from greed. Ill will arises from aversion, whereas sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, and skeptical doubt arise from delusion. In a discourse called Ahara Sutta of Samyutta Nikaya, that is the collection of the Buddha's connected discourses, the Buddha said that these mental hindrances arise due to unwise attention that one pays to certain factors that we experience in our everyday life. And if we pay unwise attention to pleasant sense objects that we receive through our sense doors, that can give rise to sensual desire. If we pay unwise attention to unpleasant sense objects that we receive, that can give rise to ill will. If we pay unwise attention to factors like boredom, weariness, yawning, drowsiness after a meal, that can give rise to the hindrance of sloth and torpor. If one pays unwise attention to unsettledness or restlessness of the mind, that can give rise to the mental hindrance of restlessness and remorse. While if we pay unwise attention to things that are doubtful, that can lead to the arising of skeptical doubt. Now, in a discourse called Upakilesa Sutta of Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha compared the mind with these 5 mental hindrances to gold contaminated with 5 impurities such as iron, copper, tin, lead, and silver. The Buddha said, these impurities make the gold not malleable but brittle, and so it is not suitable for any work to be done with it. And similarly, a mind with mental hindrances will not be malleable for carrying out any meditation. And a mind with no mental hindrances is malleable and is suitable for one to practice concentration meditation properly so that one could eradicate mental impurities and attain wisdom. Now, the first mental hindrance is sensual desire, kama chanda. And that is desire or craving for sensual pleasures that we receive through the pleasant sense objects, through the five sense doors of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and the body. So we crave for pleasant sights that we see through the eyes, pleasant sounds that we hear through the ears, pleasant smells that we receive through the nose, pleasant tastes that we receive through the tongue, and pleasant sensations that we receive through our body. In a discourse called Sangarava Sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha compared the mind that is defiled by sensual desire to a bowl of water that is mixed with five different dyes. And when the water is mixed with various dyes, one could not see one's reflection clearly. And similarly, Buddha said, when the mind is defiled by sensual desires, one will not know how to escape from it, and one will also not know what is good for him or others or both. In a discourse called Samannapala Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, that is the collection of the Buddha's long discourses, the Buddha compared someone with sensual desire to a man in debt. When a man is in debt, he has to tolerate all sorts of verbal and physical harassment from his creditors and cannot retaliate. But when he has paid back his debt, he will feel joy and happiness. And the Buddha said similarly, when one has eliminated sensual desire from the mind, one will feel as if one is free from debt and is able to continue with meditation and to attain concentration, tranquility, and wisdom. The second mental hindrance is ill will, vyapada. And that also includes anger, resentment, aversion, animosity, irritation, hostility, and hatred. And in the Sangarava Sutta, the Buddha compared a mind with ill will to a bowl of bubbling, boiling water that's been heated on a fire. And one could not see one's reflection through that water. And similarly, the Buddha said, when the mind is defiled by ill will, one will not know how to escape from it, or what is good for him, or others, or both. And in the Samannapala Sutta, the Buddha compared someone with ill will to a man who is seriously ill and in severe pain. And when he has recovered from his illness, he feels joy and happiness with no pain and is able to enjoy food with strength returning to his body. And similarly, the Buddha said, when one has eliminated ill will, one will feel strong and comfortable and is able to continue with meditation. The third mental hindrance is sloth and torpor, tina middha. Now, sloth and torpor can arise during meditation in the form of lethargy, laziness, lassitude, and sluggishness of the mind. Now, there are two components here, sloth and torpor. Now, sloth is sluggishness or dullness of the mind, while torpor is the state of heaviness and drowsiness in the body. And that can easily lead to sleepiness. Now, sloth and torpor is a common problem to many meditators, especially those who are new to meditation. And because of sloth and torpor, some meditators may even give up practicing. Sloth and torpor can occur when both sensual desire and ill will are well controlled and the mind is in a neutral state with no stimulation. Another possible reason for sloth and torpor is if the meditator has chosen an unsuitable meditation object that is incompatible with the meditator's temperament. In the Sangarava Sutta, the Buddha compared a mind with sloth and torpor to a bowl of water that is covered with moss and water plants. And when the water is covered with moss and water plants, one could not see one's reflection clearly. And similarly, the Buddha said, when the mind is defiled by sloth and torpor, one will not know how to escape from it, or what is good for him, or others, or both. And in the Samannapala Sutta, the Buddha compared one with sloth and torpor to a man who is imprisoned. When he is released from prison, he feels safe and free. And similarly, the Buddha said, when one has eliminated sloth and torpor, one will feel safe and free and is able to continue with meditation. Now, the fourth mental hindrance is restlessness and remorse, uddacha kukkucha. Now, restlessness can range from mild distracting thoughts to severe agitation of the mind. Now, Buddha has said, if one applies too much effort in meditation with not enough concentration, it can lead to restlessness of the mind. And remorse is one's preoccupation with unwholesome or bad things that one has done, or wholesome or good things that one has not done. There are two different mental factors, but they are considered as one double mental hindrance as restless and remorse because they have the tendency to arise together. Now, in the Sangarava Sutta, Buddha compared a mind with restlessness and remorse to the water in a bowl that is agitated and stirred by a strong wind. When the water is agitated, one could not see one's reflection clearly. And similarly, the Buddha said, when the mind is defiled by restlessness and remorse, one will not know how to escape from it, or what is good for him, or others, or both. And in the Samannapala Sutta, the Buddha compared someone with restlessness and remorse to a man who is in slavery. A slave is completely dependent on the masters for all his needs, and he can't do whatever he wants to do, or he can't go wherever he wants to go. But one day, when he is released from slavery, he is free and independent. And similarly, the Buddha said, when one has eliminated restlessness and remorse from the mind, one will feel free and is able to continue with meditation. The fifth mental hindrance is skeptical doubt, vichikicha. And that includes doubt, uncertainty, indecision, and perplexity of the mind. Now, one can have doubt about the Buddha, about the Dhamma, about the Sangha, or about the Buddhist path of liberation. That's a noble eightfold path consisting of morality, sila, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya. And one can have doubt in relation to one's meditation teacher, or even about the meditation technique that one is practicing. And the meditator can also have doubts about his or her own ability and the suitability to continue with the meditation. In Sangaro Sutta, the Buddha compared a mind with skeptical doubt to a bowl of water placed in a dark place, which is turbid, muddy, and stirred up. And when the water is turbid, muddy, and stirred up, one could not see one's reflection clearly in that water. And similarly, the Buddha said, when the mind is defiled by skeptical doubt, one will not know how to escape from it, or what is good for him, or others, or both. In the Samanapala Sutta, the Buddha compared someone with skeptical doubt to a man walking in the desert, carrying money and other possessions, who is in constant fear of being robbed or facing any other danger. But when he comes out of the desert, he will feel secure, happy, and free from danger. And similarly, the Buddha said, when one has eliminated skeptical doubt, one will feel free and is able to continue with meditation to attain concentration, tranquility, and wisdom. Now, a meditator should always be vigilant enough to recognize as soon as a mental hindrance appears in the mind during meditation. Now, one can manage sensual desire by guarding one's sense doors and also meditating on impure objects. Now, here, impure objects refers to either 32 loathsome parts of the body or different stage of decomposition of a dead body. If one recognizes the hindrance of ill will appearing in the mind, one could manage it by practicing loving kindness meditation, metta bhavana. If one recognizes the mental hindrance of sloth and torpor, one could try changing one's posture or thinking of the perception of light or even reflecting on death, reflecting that it is possible for one to die at any moment. And one could manage the hindrance of restlessness of the mind by focusing on positive factors such as tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And one can manage the hindrance of doubt by learning the teaching and also having faith in the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Now, during concentration meditation, as the concentration of the mind deepens, the five mental hindrances gradually become suppressed. And when concentration and tranquility are well established, the hindrances are either completely suppressed or temporarily removed. In insight meditation, the hindrances are removed progressively on a gradual basis until they are all eradicated at the final stage of the path of liberation, and that is arahanthood. Now, when one cultivates the Buddhist path of liberation, that is the Noble Eightfold Path, successfully, one attains enlightenment or the state of Nibbana through four progressive supramundane stages. The first stage is stream enterer, Sotapanna. The second stage is once returner, Sakadagami. The third stage is non-returner, Anagami. And the final stage of enlightenment is Arahant. Now, when one attains the first stage of stream entry, Sotapanna, the mental hindrance of doubt, Vichikicha, is eradicated. When one attains the third stage of non-returner, Anagami, three mental hindrances, that is sensual desire, kama chanda, ill will, vyapada, and remorse, kukucha, are eradicated. And when one attains the final stage of arahant, the remaining hindrances of sloth and torpor, thinamidha, and restlessness, uddhacha, are completely eradicated. Thank you very much.